Welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm Justin Riley, and I'm joined today by our very dear friend, Dr. Marcia Schaefer from Spring Creek Family Chiropractic in Lodi. Dr. Marcia, welcome. Welcome back, I should say.
Thank you.
So we're going to be talking a little bit about fever today, as I understand. Can you tell us how do you define fever?
So a fever is a completely normal response. A healthy body, when a virus or bacteria comes into the body, it's going to heat up because it wants to burn that thing out, and then you're going to start with your symptoms. You know, a lot of people assume that when you get the fever, when you get the cough, the sneeze, all of that kind of stuff, that you're sick. But we need to backpedal about 7 to 10 days. That's when everything actually started. Your nervous system picked it up, it took care of it, and then it created symptoms to get the stuff out of your system. So when we constantly suppress that, it doesn't let the body do the cleanup that it's meant to do, and that's an important aspect of fever.
Yeah, and we've been so conditioned to believe that fevers can be dangerous. As a parent, how do we know when a fever really does become dangerous? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, right, we know, all parents, you know when your child is your child, you know when your child is not being your child. So when they become lethargic, when they aren't acting like themselves, there's a lot that we can do to help our child. But you know, we see parents that say, oh, a cool bath, or we need to decrease that fever, and then it spikes higher. And it does that because, again, we're trying to heat and get that stuff out. So when we do those things to decrease that fever, it's just going to come right back because it's saying, I wasn't done yet. So when your child is still being your child, trust your gut and pay attention to your child and know who they are to know when you need to do something about it further.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what about are there any risks of brain damage for high fevers? Is that something that we need to be concerned about?
Johns Hopkins, over 20 years ago, Johns Hopkins actually said, no, there's actually not the brain damage unless it gets over 107. But an untreated fever, unless the child is bundled up or they're in a very warm place, rarely will it get above 105. So the body is very self-regulating. Its own thermostat, the central nervous system is the body's thermostat. So it gets to tell the body how to work that fever. So checking your central nervous system and that neurophysiology, it's really, really important to get that checked.
Yes, absolutely. And modern medicine now, I believe, acknowledges that having a fever is actually a positive sign. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, the American Academy of Pediatrics actually recognizes and says fever is a symptom of the body taking care of itself, and we should not be medicating. We should be watching carefully and making sure that your child is doing the best that they can. You know, it's interesting to me that we have newborn checks. There's all these things that are checked on a newborn, but nobody ever checks their central nervous system. Nobody is checking these babies when they're first born to say, how is your nervous system going to respond? Because that's ultimately what gets to dictate how is that fever responding. The body's got to have that communication within it, and that's what chiropractors, pediatric chiropractors, are trained especially in, to make sure that that nervous system is functioning and the body can fight off that fever better just because it's a normal response.
Absolutely. It's a normal, but it's not a very comfortable response. I got to tell you, I'm just getting over some things myself, and boy, that's not fun having a fever.
Right, and that's to say, is health a sign of, you know, it is being sick, is that a sign of health? It is. Health isn't just because you're symptom-free. It's the biggest misnomer that parents believe.
Right, yeah. So you've mentioned that the body is really the greatest drugstore. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that means?
Yes, our bodies are incredible. I mean, think about it. In pregnancy, you build a human in 9 to 10 months. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
But even
the woman really does.
Right, right.
Men contribute a little, but anyway.
But you know, our body creates something called interferon, which can create fever and chills. But it's the immune system that's saying, hey, take care of this. We can create antiviral and antibacterial agents and the enzymes that our bodies can create. We've got this incredible, incredible amount to heal ourselves. We've got that ability, but it's going to dictate in how the communication is happening in the body. So how your central nervous system is functioning, which is why people under chiropractic care are responding better. They get over their cold sooner because their body says, I can take care of this, and it can respond the way that it naturally should without too much or too little of what the body's going to do.
We just have a few seconds left, but do you think that the use of medication can kind of suppress the body's natural ability to fight these types of things?
Absolutely. It's actually going to make the colds or the illnesses last longer because the body's going to come back and say, hey, this is what I want to do.
Right. Absolutely. Dr. Marcia Schaefer from Spring Creek Family Chiropractic, thank you so much for the information.
Thank you.
Don't go away. There's more Talk of the Town coming up right after this. Stay tuned.